mashallah, that's amazing. I would also say, because you mentioned about being strong, I wanted to mention some du'as that are really important to say, because we talked about doing the work ourselves, but the problem is that a lot of people, when they want to achieve a goal, especially with weight loss or a health goal, is they will immediately try and change things externally. So they'll start working out more, they'll eat more healthily, and all of those things are good. But if you start doing that and you haven't laid the foundation with the mindset work, usually what we'll see is we'll see some short-term results. And that's why a lot of people, they'll lose weight, but then they'll end up putting it back on because they've just kind of focused on the external change. What's
Right.
really important is to start with laying the right foundation internally, have change,
Yes.
like having the right positive internal mindset, and then you then see the external change, and that is a lot more long term, and it's about having it as a lifestyle rather than a quick fix. So that's really
Yes.
important. In terms of the du'as, these are du'as that I say regularly in terms of the names I use. You can sort of design the du'a of your choice because each person has their own individual goal. But I've
Right.
just picked out four names of Allah. You might find others watching this, but the names that I use a lot are Ya al Mu'eed, which means the restorer. And that's important for me because, you know, I used to be a healthy size, but I've put on weight and I want to restore my body back to its original healthy, ideal
Right.
size and weight. You may choose Ya al Musawwir, which means the shaper of beauty. We want to get back to our natural, beautiful, healthy size. Ya as Samad, which means self-sufficient. So not overeating, it's being sufficient and sustaining yourself with just enough food for you. And just based on what you said, I just wrote it down now, is Ya al Qawi. We want to be mentally strong, have a strong mindset, and also be physically strong, being able to work out and nourish our bodies so that we're strong and healthy. So I really like that, mashallah.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's not really me, but I just, these are realizations I've come to over time that, you know, when I was a new Muslim, I'm a convert, so I converted 32 years ago. And when I was a new Muslim, I would always get amazed at the older people in our community who, you know, were still doing salah. And because our prayer is physically demanding, where you know, you make ruku, like bowing, making sujud, the prostrating and getting back up standing. And you don't see that as much, like older people, meaning, you know, senior citizens being able to move freely or very easily, um, doing those postures, you know, the prostrating, the bowing, getting on the floor, getting back up. Um, but yet you would see a lot of the older Muslim ladies, they were, you know, capable of doing that. And that always, I was amazed at that, you know, when I was younger, because like I said, in my society, you know, I'm a native Texan and a regular American. The older generation, generally speaking, not everybody, but generally speaking, were quite, I mean, it was hard for them to get around. Like it was even hard for them to get into the car and out of the car. You know, that would be a chore. And I used to work also in an old folks home when I was in high school. And yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of the elderly people had a lot of issues. So I always thought that, you know, this is important in our religion, that we have to keep ourselves active physically and do these motions, you know, bowing, prostrating. And as we get older, it does get harder to do that, because that's what I'm experiencing now. Well, it's not really, but sort of, that my joints get stiff. But when I work out and when I, you know, practice, you know, the movements of exercise, then it just, it's made all of those aches and pains not completely go away, but diminish. I would say diminish. And also, it's helped me a lot with being able to pray, for example, in Ramadan, Taraweeh prayer, and without much hardship. Because I was, a few years back, about 5 or 6 years back, I was having issues where in Taraweeh prayer, for example, I would have to sit in the chair and I couldn't like stand and pray the whole time. But after I started exercising regularly, then I found that, oh, I'm being able to keep up with that prayer. Alhamdulillah. I mean, and that made me feel so good and happy. And I want so much to share that with others who are like getting older and aging, that, you know, it's possible for us to keep our strength up even in our old age. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
something I
No,
just.
mashallah.
I was going to ask you also, just because I didn't want to stay on too long. So we've been on about half an hour, but just one more thing I wanted to talk to you about was what would be your advice to overcome limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, like because it happens. It's so much a part of us that when we see somebody else and they're